They say that the best way to see New York is on the bike. Stop the cab. Now, as a person who thoroughly enjoys cycling and who has been to a lot of Dutch cities, I can tell you that the Netherlands have invested heavily in the cycling infrastructure, and it makes it a very safe and efficient and time preserving exercise. So I mean, I've been through lots of Dutch cities, and I can tell you that when it comes to cycling, they have a speed. Now we're going to explore this theory that the best way to see New York is on the bike. I'm here at the corner of Chambers and Broadway, and we're gonna test out the theory. We're gonna walk around and see just how safe, how efficient, and look at some of the infrastructure or lack thereof that exists in this city compared to, say, the equivalent, which is Amsterdam. This is for my Dutchies who like to complain about your beautiful, very efficient city. Very efficient country, actually. Let's go. Let's talk about safety. So right off the bat, you can see that most roadways don't actually have a dedicated footpath, and so cyclists have to share the roadway with vehicles, which makes it quite dangerous at times, especially when the vehicles or cyclists are making turns. I watched different cyclists at several different intersections and witnessed a lot of near misses, especially when the vehicles were making right or left turns. It wasn't very clear if the cyclists or the vehicles had the right of way, as you can see there. Oh, that was close. And I was able to capture situations where the cars or the cyclists almost ran into each other, as you can see there. In contrast with Amsterdam, the data I pulled stated that there were more than 500 kilometers of dedicated bicycle lanes in Amsterdam alone, which makes cycling really safe, at least from my point of view. Now I have a question for all my Amsterdammers and Utrechters and all my people in the Netherlands. Is this a street that you would like to cycle in? Would you feel safe cycling here? Is it just me? Am I just like biased for the Netherlands? Would you like to cycle in a street that looks like that? Would you feel safe cycling here? Leave it in the comments below. New York City supposedly has over 1,000 kilometers of dedicated cycling space. Notice I say cycling space now because it probably includes recreational cycling areas, but honestly, you don't really see the cycling space driving around the city. Most roadways don't have a bike lane, and even when they do, you are far more likely to be involved in a near miss or an actual accident than in Amsterdam. As you can see from this near miss, the dad was trying to get on the roadway when he almost got ran over by the red vehicle, which led into an argument between the two, which I highly don't recommend. You just don't ever know how these things go, and yeah, if for nothing else, this near miss clearly demonstrates just how dire the safety situation is in the city when cyclists have to share the same space as the vehicles. So on safety, I would much rather cycle in Amsterdam than in New York. Now, according to New York City ordinances, cyclists must ride with the traffic, obey all traffic signals and signs, use bike lanes when available, and be equipped with lights and a bell horn. Additionally, cyclists or adult cyclists are prohibited from riding on sidewalks unless a sign allows for it. But children 12 and under riding bicycles with wheels that are less than 26 inches in diameter are allowed to ride on sidewalks. Now, that's one of the rules that really doesn't make sense to me because first of all, I mean, if you're protecting pedestrians, well, you know, a kid can run over a pedestrian just as much as an adult can. But if you're protecting the kids from the motorists, I mean, why not protect the adult too? I mean, I don't know. On a different note, places like this remind me why I love this city. There should be more green places like this in New York. Now, let's take a break from being somewhat highly critical of New York City cycling infrastructure and say that New York City is actually a beautiful city. It is huge in comparison to, say, Amsterdam, and definitely worth a visit. If you do want to risk your life and cycle, that's okay too. I love the city. I mean, I live here, and this video is not made to shit on the city at all. So those are the rules. What rules? We don't care about the rules. As you can see here, I mean, there's people that, you know, do ride on the pedestrian walkways, and yeah, it's not really adhered to. So those are just more like general suggestions as far as New York City is concerned, because no one really adheres to them. The other thing that you can tell is that in New York, there aren't that many places that are safe for you to lock your bikes. As you can tell, New York and Amsterdam are kind of related in that way, because, you know, if you don't lock your bike in the right place or, you know, in a safe area, it will grow legs. So this is a great example of a missing bike somewhere. So here's, and that's the other thing, you know, so if there aren't a lot of places to lock your bikes, why would you want to cycle everywhere in New York, right? Because you wouldn't know where to leave your bike, right? So that's another area where Amsterdam beats New York, hands down. Now, I'm here at one of the places where you can actually rent a bike. Now, you pay for these by the hour, and they tend to be a little bit on the high side. But the point I want to make is that this is a beautiful Saturday evening. The weather is great. I mean, you should see all of these bikes being utilized. So in this case, you see that most of the bikes are actually here, which tells you something about how people view cycling in this city, as opposed to a city like Amsterdam, where you would imagine that most of these bikes would probably be gone. So when it comes to people actually preferring to use bicycles even when they're available, I find that it's not really that preferable. Most people would rather take the subway because, quite frankly, as you can tell, it's safer than cycling in New York. As you can see there, when there is an actual footpath and you choose to follow the rules, you do have to stop at every red light. Another major difference that you can tell right off the bat is that there is only a one-way footpath on this road. So in most streets in Amsterdam, or even in Utrecht, I got it right. In most streets in Utrecht, you will see that there'll be a dual way footpath. But in this case, if you're coming in the opposite direction from that guy, if you're coming this way, yeah, you're going to need to use the same side of the footpath, which can be a little bit dangerous. Now, I can't decide if someone here lost a bike or lost their helmet, but something got lost. Not exactly sure what. Now, this guy lost their wheels, which I'm not sure if this happens in Amsterdam. I guess somebody needed some wheels. Again, this just goes to show you how many streets don't actually have a dedicated cycling lane, and you have to use the same roadway as the vehicles. So I'm here in Chinatown, and as you can see, the roads are actually quite narrow here in Chinatown, and there's people parked on either side of the street. And so this would be a really great pedestrian only street, but now with the cars and the parking on either side of the street, it makes it impossible for there to be really good connections when it comes to, you know, cycling. So you have to drive in the middle of the street because there's just cars parked everywhere. So yeah, so this is a great example of an area where it would actually be better to have just a pedestrian or cycling street only. What if you are just arriving in New York and you don't have a bicycle and you'd like to rent one so that you can use it, since it's the best way to see the city, right? Where would you find a bike shop in this city? So one of the differences that I can immediately tell is that you are more able to find bike shops pretty much everywhere you go in the Netherlands. In New York, there are some bike shops, but for the most part, I mean, you would have to look. And you can also get some of these bikes that you pay for by the hour. Those tend to be a little bit on the expensive side, but they are available. So when it comes to availability of bikes for rent, I still give pretty much every city in the Netherlands the edge on that. Bikes are everywhere, and you know, you people have us on that, you know. So yeah, so when it comes to availability of bike shops to rent bikes, I think Amsterdam wins. Yay, look, we have Omo Fits too. Would this technically be considered Omo Fits? Now, straight off the bat, you can tell that there is no fit spot to speak of. So, as you can tell, you see people are pretty much cycling right on the roadway, and I can tell you, I don't feel safe as a New Yorker cycling on the roadway, which is why I don't do it. And then the other thing that I've noticed is that in the Netherlands, pretty much most of the roadways give the right of way to the cyclist, and here it's a little bit of a free-for-all. So it makes it less safe, in my opinion, than cycling anywhere in the Netherlands, even in Amsterdam. Now, as you can tell, that there's a footpath here, but the condition of the footpath is suspect at best. So even when there is infrastructure for cycling,
that infrastructure really needs a lot of help.
As you can see, here are more examples of missing infrastructure. I'm still looking for the 1,000 kilometers of, of cycling space in New York because I didn't see it. I didn't see it. And when I did see it, it was still pretty dangerous.
Now I'm here at the corner of Center and Reed, and to be fair, there are some streets that have kind of a fit spot, which is the green bicycle lane that you can see in the middle of the road. In my opinion, having it in the middle of the road is not ideal, and there are some issues when it comes to people actually using using the bicycle path, because you'll find a lot of people actually prefer to cycle on the street as opposed to on the actual bicycle path. So that's a big difference that I see between the Dutch and us New Yorkers. The Dutch are fairly adherent to the rules of cycling, so you will cycle on the infrastructure that you do have. In our case here, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But that's how we do things in New York. Another huge difference that I've noticed between New York City and Amsterdam or Utrecht is the right of way. So we have a dedicated lane right here for the bicycles, but there's still pedestrians that are crossing the bicycle path because of the way the way the infrastructure has been organized. Pedestrians have to cross the bicycle path. Now, who has the right of way in the Netherlands? Here it seems kind of chaotic. I think pretty much, you can cut across the bicycle path and they basically have to decide whether or not they want to stop for you. So when it comes to the right of way, who actually has the right of way on the fit spot in the Netherlands? Is it always the bicycle, or should the pedestrians take the right of way?
Your girl is back in Chinatown because I got hungry, and a girl gotta eat. And I love Chinese food, so let's go grab some food.
Now, I am definitely not making this video to shit on New York. I love this city, that's why I choose to live here. But I think we can make it better. As a person that loves cycling, I love the Netherlands. I think you have done phenomenally well in implementing great infrastructure, building up on the culture of cycling, which makes people healthier and happier. It makes people much more energetic, in my opinion. At least that's how I feel when I'm out in the Netherlands. And I think we can do some of that in this city. So yeah, I'm not shitting on New York, but I think when it comes to cycling, hands down, the Dutch have us beat. So I can't wait to be back in the Netherlands, where I can cycle and not feel like my life is on the line. So for all you guys out there in the Netherlands, you're blessed. You should really, really appreciate what you have. It's amazing, and I can't wait to be back. Ciao.